Hello, Rick. Welcome. So far, it looks like you're the only one who made it. So what's the weather like there now, this time of year, Rick? I'd like to welcome everybody out. The closer we get to the holidays, I'm sure the less of you are going to be available for this sort of thing. I hope everybody is doing great tonight and stuff. Have anybody new? You're welcome, Tony. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's good to have you back, Rick. Cool and rainy. Snowing and freezing here. All right, so you stole a line from Elvis. Oh, okay, now I get it. Now if I say it with the Elvis voice in my head, I can see that. So yeah, as usual, there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs for what we're going to be going over. So if you want to get that. Film actor turned guitar player. You or Elvis? Oh, you are? Cool. All right, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to yeah, I guess that's true. Elvis he did music before he did acting. I act all the time. It just isn't in movies. Butterfly Effect. Welcome. All right, so art is art. Yeah, that's true. Bottom line with anything, just like playing guitar, you got to do it because you love it. If you have any other motivation other than you just really want to play, you're going to be disappointed. More than likely. All right, so yeah, so what we're going to do is I've just prepared 3 cool like riffs, or progressions or whatever from 3 Skid Row songs. I thought Skid Row was one of the better bands from that whole era, especially with the original lineup when they had original singer and everything. The first 2 albums are really good, I think. All right, and if this is your first time here, drop me a comment. And if there's anybody, any of my regulars are here, I see a couple. Let me know that too. But yeah, if you like the content, you like the stuff I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing to the channel. All that stuff really helps for me to keep being able to do this. All right, so the first one we're going to look at is the kind of the main riff from "I Remember You." So it's pretty easy. There's only two chords in it. So we have a G, and so for this G, you're going to want to do the voicing where you're picking up D here on the third fret of the B string, and then we've got a C add 9. But this voicing of C add 9, we don't typically. You probably play C add 9. You just move your first and second finger out, and you still do that in this case. But you also need to remove your pinky so that the high E string is open. So we've got the G major, and then the C add 9. So on the transcription, you'll see there like right on the downbeat of 1. James Taylor, welcome. What's up? Just playing a little guitar on a Wednesday evening. Yeah, so that G, you strum the full chord on the downbeat of 1. And then you can see it's an upstroke, but they're only catching like the first 2 strings. And then 2 more downstrokes on the lower end of the chord, and then the higher end of the chord again. And it's not really consistent about all of the strings. That's just the way that it is on the recording, at least on the first maybe 4 measures, because that's all more of it I listen to get this. But when you play it, you don't need to put a whole bunch of focus on trying to do that. That's where a lot of times people really get hung up. They think that, oh, I've got to make sure I only hit those 2 strings. Well, the difference between going or, but they both sound good. You're still going to be playing notes that are within the chord. So it's just, you just want to try to use that as kind of a guideline, like, okay, the full chord, then the top end, the bottom end, the top end, the bottom end, so on and so forth. So it's like, so that's like the first, not really half of it's a little over half. So the way I always think about it is just like down, up, down, down, up, down. And then we've got this little, I don't really want to call it a lick, just a little melody. So your third finger went from, because you're still in G, or you're just coming from G rather. Your ring finger here is picking up that third fret of the B string. So when you go to do this riff, what I do is I remove my fingers so I'm not playing G. So then I've freed them up to play this little lick or fill, whatever you want to call it. But the last note of it is this D here, this third fret of the B string. So if you just leave that finger there from when you're transitioning from the chord into the little riff, it'll ensure that you get that note, but it'll keep your hand anchored so you don't accidentally like move out of position. So I've talked about this like a million times, but you want to make sure that whenever possible that you leave a finger anchored. I mean, you can't always do that, depends on the chord changes, but often you can, and that just really helps with things like this, especially because after we do the little fill, then we're going to go into the C add 9, and again it's got that same note in it, so you don't have to remove this finger the whole time you're doing this whole sequence. So now the G string, then the A string open, hammer onto the second fret. So then the D string open, and then the B string. So you have to skip over. You have to skip over the D string, and then you have to skip over the G string. So that in itself presents a problem, where you inadvertently pick one of the wrong strings. Well, the D and the G string are both open anyway. So if you accidentally hit the G string when you should have hit the D string, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. It's still gonna sound good. When I play this, if I wasn't like focusing on trying to read it and I just played it just from feel and memory, I would probably play it, slightly different. All right, so you got that. See, I just did it right there. I hit the G string instead of the D string. The B string. So we got our third finger there. So the whole thing should be like. See, I just screwed it up right there. I hit the D string when I should have hit the A string. And now that time it didn't really sound all that great, but typically it's just not that huge of a deal. I mean, you always want to try to play it, to the best you can, but don't let things like that hang you up from playing it or continuing, or like, oh, I can't play this in front of somebody, because most people aren't even going to know anyway. Trust me. All right, so that's your first measure. So then after you hit that B string, then we're going to drop our fingers down for the C add 9. So just the same shape we were doing. Your first finger's on the second fret of the D string now, and your second finger is on the third fret of the A string. Yes, Rick, it will. Yeah, just with practice. I always kind of think of it like when you're working on a part, whether it be a lick or, a riff or a song, or, there's always going to be like that one little section. And you keep playing it, and kind of think about it like if you had like a coffee table that you wanted to refinish. It's really rough and bad shape, but all you have is a piece of 4,000 grit sandpaper. So you're going to have to sand on that thing forever. But once you do, it's going to be, it's going to shine. And does the same thing with your playing. All right, so for the timing on the second measure with the C add 9, it's actually the same timing as it is on the first measure with G. It's just you're hitting a different area of the strings, because now we're not playing the low E string at all. We're just. So with that one, I think it was like down, up, down, 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 up. Now we've got another little lick, fill, whatever you want to call it. So the first note is the C here on your third fret of your A string. Your middle finger is already there. Then the G string open. And now we're gonna, the first time I said earlier, we don't have to take this finger off. I lied, because now what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift it off. We're gonna play the B string open, and then do a hammer on to the third fret with our third finger and a pull off. And then follow that with the open G and D string. And then the whole thing just starts over again. See it? And it goes right back into G. Man, I'm really sucking at that right there tonight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to play it like I said, that if I just play it from feel, I don't sit there and try to focus on that, and I just play the song, it comes out much, much better, or it should. Hope it doesn't make a liar out of me. Except it's. Like that. So that's not perfect. It's not exactly the same way that it is on there, but it's close enough, like where what the song is. And I would if I was going to perform the song, I'd play it just like that. Well, hopefully better. I've practiced it. So yeah, so that is That is the riff for I Remember You. So does anybody have any questions about that? About what we just went over? Or just any guitar questions in general too. It doesn't have to be about that, riff or whatever specifically. And in case any of you are wondering what to get me for Christmas, I am a size 214 CE in Taylor. All right. So next we want to look at is the kind of the main, riff chord progression from 18 in Life. Now, this is in C sharp minor. And when I originally tried to figure this song out by ear, hello, Victor, welcome. I tried like when the song first came out, and I could hear that it was a minor chord, and I just assumed they were tuned down a half step. So I thought it was like with this D chord, and I just nothing ever quite sounded right. And then I went back to it, I don't know, a few years ago for a student, and then figured out that I was like playing it way wrong. So this one is pretty easy. I think it's actually easier than I Remember You. So we just got this, your standard minor bar chord shape with the root note on the A string. So my first finger is barred all the way across the first 5 strings at the 4th fret. And then my middle finger is going on to the 5th fret of the B string. 3rd finger is on the 6th fret of the D string, and 4th finger is on the 6th fret of the G string. Hello, Chris. Welcome. All right, so we've got this this C sharp minor, and now we're going to be playing. They're just going to be arpeggiating it. So we start off. We play the A string, and then the B, and then the G string, and then back to our A string. And this is 8th note, so it's like 1 and 2 and. So that takes care of the first 2 beats of this measure. Oh, awesome, Chris. And I take it you're probably just joining us. So there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs for what we're doing. And we've already gone over one of the things, but when this is over, you can watch, the rerun of the stream. Okay, so on here we've got 2 chords for this main part. This we're playing 4 measures, and we've got 4 different chords. So we got this C sharp minor. Okay, and then the next one we got is a B over C. So this is really easy. All you do is just take your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers off. So you're just barring at the 4th fret. And then starting right on the downbeat of 3, we play the B string. We go B, G, D. So 3 and 4. And then on the and of 4, our first finger's already picking up the 4th fret of the A string. So on the and of 4, so it's the and because these are 2 notes, our 16th notes. So we hit that note on the 4th fret, and then we do a hammer onto the 6th fret. and then you have to drop right back into that chord. So if you're new, if you're a beginner, or you haven't had a lot of experience with bar chords, that can be kind of tricky. So just you might need to like maybe separately just practice doing that so you can drop into the chord. Is it tuned down? Okay, I can't remember. I don't remember. They might be tuned down a half step. It kind of seems like they were, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it'll be pretty obvious to tell, if you're going to play it with the thing. But if it is tuned down, it'll you still play it the same way. It'll just be. Yeah, I'm going to say it is tuned down. Yeah, so that's the first measure. So we hit that, and then on the second measure, we're right back to the C sharp minor, and it's the same timing. So the only thing that's different on this measure from the previous one is that on the and of 4, instead of it being this 4 hammered to 6, it's actually going to be the 7th fret of the low E string, which is a B. They might actually be going. They might be like coming down and sliding back up into it, but it's 1,000 times easier just to reach up here with your pinky and grab that note. So it's going to be like. And then right back into the. So on the last measure, the third measure is the same as these two. It still starts off the same way, back at the C sharp minor. And now on the end of 4, it's this the C sharp, the 4th fret of your A string. So that's the first 3 measures. That's the main meat potatoes of the riff. So try that again. All right. Then that leads us to the last measure, and this is the other 2 chords. I said that we had a total of 4 chords. So we're going to come down, and we've got an A suspended 2. So if you don't know your suspended chords, you just take A minor and just take your first finger off. So that way the A string is open, and I'm fretting the 2nd fret of the D string with my 2nd finger, and the 2nd fret of the G string with my 3rd finger. And then the B and high E strings are both open. So we've got 1 and, so we play the A string and then the D string and as 8th notes. 1 and then we strum the whole chord as a quarter note. So it's like 1 and 2. Okay, so that's half of it. And then for beat, starting on beat 3, we've got this shape here. So it's like a B5 power chord. My first finger's on the 2nd fret of the A string, and my 3rd finger's on the 4th fret of the D string, and my 4th finger's on the 4th fret of the G string. And the B and high E strings are open. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to play the A and then the D on 3 and then on the for beat 4, we just strum the whole top of that chord, so the D, G, B, and E, high E string. So. Like that. So like I said, I feel that this one's easier, unless you haven't never done a bar chord, then you might have a different opinion. But for the most part, I think that it's a lot easier than the other one is. It's A suspended too, because we've got. Oh wow! I just noticed that that's a typo on the tab. That should be an open string on the B string there. So good eye. Dang it. Every time, I swear, I don't have the ability to find a typo in anything until it's too late. So yeah, that should be A suspended too. So for anybody out there that you downloaded the tab, on that fourth measure, you see, where it says A suspended 2, and you A string and then the D string, and then you strum that whole top of the chord. On that tab, it's showing that it's the second fret on the B string. That's wrong. It should be open. So thanks, Butterfly, for catching that. There's probably stuff like that happens all the time, and I'm not aware of it. All right, yeah. So that is 18 in life. So does anybody have any questions about that? Or just regular guitar questions in general? All right. And if you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps me out to keep doing this. What does the wavy arrow mean? Okay, so that's an indication that you're not going. You're arpeggiating the chords, so you're playing each note separately. You're getting the clarity, and where the arrow is pointing up, that's indicating that you're playing up. If it was the other way around, so the arrow was pointing down, then that would be you're going this direction. So it's kind of goofy, because it makes you feel like, okay, well, if the arrow's going up, then why not? This is up and this is down, but it's actually in reference to pitch. So lower string, higher string. So anytime you're playing a chord, if you're going to do an up arpeggio from the when the arrow is pointing up. If it was pointing down, then be like that. All right. So the last one we're going to look at is riff from Youth Gone Wild. So this is like a really cool, sounding riff. It's fun to play. But one of the reasons why I chose this is because this is is kind of a really good exercise for developing how smoothly you can transition with dyads. So I've done at least one stream in the past, and I've probably done a couple of different just regular YouTube videos or whatever on dyads. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time with that on what a dyad is or whatever. But just basically, it's a 2-note chord. So like your power chord shape that's a power chord, but it's also a dyad. It's a fifth. What it is, you look at it, the lower note is 1, and then the upper note is 5. I'm referring from the major scale. So like if I started on G and I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a fifth. So that's not the only one there is. I kind of think of them all as power chords in a sense, but they're dyads because, like I said, it's a 2-note chord. So when you're playing a fifth power chord, since you're not putting a third in there, it's neither major or minor. So that's why they're really good to use in certain situations where maybe you want to get that, that umph on there. Maybe another, like in this case, I'm playing D, so you want a heavier sound on D itself, but you don't want to put any emphasis on it, whether it's D major or D minor. So you just use the power chord. So with this, it's also we've got ones that are fifths, fourths, and thirds. So this shape is always a fifth. Now, if you play the note that's straight up on from, like here I'm on the 5th fret of the A string, so the 5th fret of the D string, that's a fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth note up in the major scale. And again, it is also it's neither major or minor because they're what I call a perfect interval. And then just like when you play your scale, whole, half. So from note 3 to note 4 is a half step. So we know then that if this is 1 and this is 4, this is a major third. And what do we do to a major to make it a minor? We flatten it. So this is made up of fourths, fifths, and major third. By having your riff built this way, there's lots and lots of really cool riffs that are done this way. Like I said, I've done several lessons on this, like even going through and like teaching just tons of different riffs that are based off of these. But this one, just the way it's laid out, is really good to kind of help you to get down a system of transitioning between these, so that way you can transition them quickly enough and smoothly enough that you can make a chordal melody out of it. All right. So we start off with this one. We've got G5 over D. We hit this on the end of 4. So well, in this case, we're doing that, but the song actually starts out with the. We're starting from the first. We're skipping that first. Da 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 da. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and. So we just hit the D and the G string open, and then you see that is tied to the same thing on the downbeat of 1 of the next measure. So it gets a full beat. It's just coming in on the and of 4. So we've got and 1, and. On the and of 1, we're going to do a slide from nowhere to a C5 over G. So it's going to be still on the D and the G string. We're just playing both on the 5th fret. In fact, this whole sequence is just played on the D and the G string. Zoso, are you referring to that A suspended 2? Just in case you're tuning in late, I'm aware that on that A suspended 2 that it's a that B string should be open. It's a typo that it shows it on the 2nd fret. Yeah, so that's what it was. That was a typo on my part. So it's supposed to be A suspended 2. All right, so we've got that 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and then on the downbeat of 2, we're going to do that same shape, but now at the 3rd fret. So, and then back to the open again. Now, you could play that like, all with one finger like that, or you could put two fingers down at the same time like that. It's a lot more efficient to be able to get where you can just roll around with these like I'm showing you here. So and one and two, and now we've got that major third shape. So this is an F and then an A here, so it's our major third. And then let's see. And then from there we go back to the B flat 5 over F. So our second finger is already on the third fret of the D string. So we're going to just roll it up so it picks up the G string as well. And then from there, back to the open string again. That comes in on the and of 4, so that way it just feeds into the next measure, kind of just a repetition of this idea, but it just, the chords change a little bit. So that's our first two measures technically. Now another reason why doing it with your finger like this, or even if you were just doing it with one finger, but like I said, I really recommend you do it like this way. When you have that finger laid down, it's also muting these higher strings, and then you're muting the lower strings with this part of your hand, so that way you can keep it quiet. All right, so then on that, the third measure, same thing. We're hitting this on the and of 4, and it's tied to the downbeat of 1, and then on the and of 1, we do that slide up into the 5th fret again, to the 3rd, open, the major 3rd one, back to this one. So it's actually the same thing. The only thing that's different is that the and of 4, this time, instead of being the open D and the G string, it's this E flat 5. So 5th shape we already talked about, 1st fret of the D string and 3rd fret of the G string. So that's our first 3 measures. Then the slide from nowhere again. So basically it's the 4th measure is just a repeat of the 3rd measure. It just isn't coming from the open D and G. It's coming from this E flat 5. So the last measure is kind of like the first one, but instead of coming in off of the open strings, it's coming in from here. And then the whole thing just repeats. Oh, monkey business? Yeah, that's a... I think that it's something like that. But yeah, good riffs. Like I said, those first 2 records of theirs are really awesome. Every song is just super, super good. The open slide Oh, from Youth Gone Wild. So when you have a slide, and maybe you already know this, we're just going to kind of go over this for people who don't, because I remember this being something that was very confusing to me for a very long time. So the SL means slide, and then the little lines are showing you that you're sliding either into a note or out from a note or a chord or whatever. In this case, it's showing that it's like coming from zero. So you obviously, if you play the strings open, that's not really what they're looking at. So a slide from nowhere is just where it kind of mimics that sound. So how I do it is I actually start at about the 3rd fret, but I don't want, you just want, so you pick and slide simultaneously. Anyway, Butterfly, I hope that's what you were referring to. If it was something else and I've completely missed the boat, just let me know. But I'm assuming that's what you meant. Yeah, that's like the next part. Oh, okay, awesome. Did that help, or do you need me to do it more or slower or anything like that? The next part of this, like where the vocals come in, the since I was born they couldn't hold me down, that part, we start off, it's that same F major, but then we're going to move up. The note on the D string is going to go up a whole step, but the note on the G string is only going to go up a half step. So this is a G, and then that's a minor 3rd. So this would be like a G minor. So, and then back to the F, and then the E flat 5. So as you can see, those are really, oh, great, Butterfly. Awesome. I'm glad. I'm a really big fan of the whole dyad thing. Like I always really liked like George Lynch, like Dokken is just full of this kind, the stuff like that. It's a lot more interesting to use those than just have everything just be a power, like a regular 5th all the time. Anyway, you want to try to get proficient at being able to, move around with them. So this, like I said, I think is a really great exercise for that. All right, so that is the 3 Skid Row riffs that I wanted to show you. So does anybody have any questions about those, or just any guitar related stuff in general? All right, if you're just joining us too, there is a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this, and you can, rewatch the first part of the stream, to where I teach the actual how to play the riffs. And if you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button, and consider subscribing to the channel. All that stuff really helps for me to be able to continue to do this. This isn't my channel. I just do content for them. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions or anything, then I guess we can wrap this up. But I appreciate everybody that came out tonight, and like I said earlier, um, if anybody cares, I'm a size 214 CE in Taylor. Christmas just coming up, and I plan to be here next week. So be a couple days before, 4 days before Christmas, I guess, 3 days. So I'm not sure how many people are going to turn out. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to be traveling and that kind of stuff. But I was just wondering, what would you guys think about maybe doing something like Jingle Bell Rock or something? It's got that like cool like intro, has a lot of really neat chords and stuff in it. It's actually kind of a cool song as far as like how it's put together. Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate that. Okay. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that. All right. Well, again, I really appreciate everybody coming out. And my whole train of thought just derailed. This has been a week from hell for me. So the fact that I'm even able to still put a sentence together is awesome. You're welcome, James, and thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. All right. Well, yeah. So I hope to see everybody, next week. Thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, all that stuff that you hear all the YouTube people say over and over and over and over and over. But it's true. It really does help. Thanks, Butterfly. Really appreciate it. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week and weekend and all that stuff. Stay safe, and I will see y'all next week. Have a great night, everybody.